tentacle erupts from black water, pale green, luminous, alien. It coils around Frodo's ankle like a living manacle. The ring-bearer screams. The pool explodes into chaos, 20 arms thrashing, grasping, hungry for hobbit flesh. This is the Watcher in the water. In 60 years of Middle-earth scholarship, no one can tell you what it is. No classification, no explanation, no weakness to exploit. Just a thing that should not be, lurking in water that doesn't belong, waiting for anyone desperate enough to try the doors of Moria. Most fantasy gives you monsters you can understand and defeat. Tolkien gives you forces that defy every attempt at explanation. Why? Because some fears are too primal for names. Some terrors grow stronger in the dark spaces between knowledge. But here's what's chilling. This isn't just any monster. It's a glimpse into forces older and fouler than Sauron. A fragment of the void before light, before hope, before anything you could call good or evil. The Watcher in the water isn't just Tolkien's most mysterious creature. It might be his most terrifying. If you watched our last episode on the Barrow-wights, you know Tolkien had a theory about monsters. To understand why the Watcher works so well, we need to go back to 1936, when Tolkien delivered his most famous lecture, Beowulf, the Monsters and the Critics. His radical claim: monsters aren't the borders of myth, but its molten core. Remove Grendel from Beowulf, and you don't fix the poem, you break its spell. While scholars wanted to civilize the old stories, trimming away pagan monsters, Tolkien saw deeper. Monsters weren't flaws to explain away. They were the test of courage, the keepers of mystery, the very thing that made stories great. Fast forward to Middle-earth, where Tolkien puts theory into practice. The Watcher in the water defies classification, terror made manifest. After one encounter, Middle-earth suddenly feels vaster, more perilous than any map could show. Other fantasy offers comfort through classification. This is a kraken. This is its weakness. But Tolkien, master of names, creator of languages, deliberately gives you forces uncategorizable. When the man who named every tree in Lothlorien leaves a monster nameless, pay attention. The Watcher remains unnamed because dread multiplies in darkness. The less we know, the more our imagination fills the void with whatever we fear most. The secret of the Watcher's horror: your mind's terror always exceeds the monster itself. In Middle-earth, monsters aren't obstacles. They're portals to the unknown. But why leave the Watcher nameless? What does that dread do to us, and to the fellowship at Moria's gate? So what is the Watcher in the water? For 60 years, fans have obsessed over this question, debated it on forums, analyzed it in essays, sent letters to Tolkien. Because what we think the Watcher is changes everything about that moment at Moria's gate. Was it just bad luck, an ancient guardian, or worse things stirring in the deep? Theory 1. The fallen dragon. Some say it's a cold drake, a dragon that lost its fire and wings. Picture Smaug's distant cousin, twisted by centuries in darkness until only hunger and tentacles remain. Tolkien's early writings mention dragons that crawled away after ancient wars and were never seen again, until now. Theory 2. Morgoth's living weapon. Others believe it's a creature, Morgoth, the original Dark Lord, created in his torture pits. A kraken bred for war, left behind when evil retreated, but never truly defeated. This fits the Watcher's alien nature, grasping tentacles, eyeless hunger. It doesn't feel natural. It feels designed to kill. Theory 3. Older than evil itself. The most chilling possibility comes from Gandalf. There are older and fouler things than orcs in the deep places of the world. What if the Watcher predates even Sauron? A remnant from the world's creation, a presence so ancient no one, not even Dark Lords, could control it. Each theory transforms how we read the encounter. What we imagine the Watcher to be, random chance, ancient guardian, or primordial chaos, changes the story. When fans wrote to Tolkien for answers, he smiled and refused. "Some questions," he wrote, "are better left open." He was right. The mystery is what makes it terrifying. Once you fully explain the Watcher, it becomes just another monster in a bestiary. But as long as it remains unnamed, unknowable, it stays exactly what Tolkien intended: pure nightmare fuel. Later, we'll explore why Tolkien believed some fears should never be solved. Forces wait at every crossing. Cerberus guards the gates of death. The world serpent coils at the edge of everything. In myth, the Threshold Guardian isn't just an obstacle, it's a test that transforms the hero. The Watcher doesn't lurk randomly, it sits at the moment the Fellowship must choose: retreat to safety or descend into legend. This is the crossing from light into darkness, from journey into ordeal, from hope into the unknown. Notice, the Watcher strikes at Frodo. Not Aragorn the warrior, not Boromir the soldier, but the small hobbit carrying the greatest burden. Is it the ring's call that draws the tentacle? Or does the world itself always test those who bear the heaviest loads? The mythic pattern is merciless. To pass the threshold, a price must be paid. The Guardian demands tribute, and the ring-bearer, alone among the company, must pay it. There is no prophecy here, no divine protection, just 9 souls at the edge of a black pool and forces stirring below. The threshold waits. The Guardian wakes. And in that moment before the strike, the Fellowship stands balanced on the knife's edge between safety and doom. The silence is absolute. Even their breathing seems too loud. Boromir's patience snaps first. A stone flies from his hand, arcs through dead air, strikes the black water with a sound like a bell tolling. Ripples spread, widen, fade. Nothing. Then the water begins to breathe. A bubble breaks the surface. Another. The pool exhales death. A reek of rot and ancient corruption that makes Legolas gag and Gimli curse in Khuzd-dûl. Powers shift beneath, and the water trembles like a struck drum. "Don't disturb it," Frodo whispers. But his voice is swallowed by dread. Too late. The tentacle erupts, pale green, luminous, dripping with slime older than kingdoms. It moves with intelligence, questing, seeking, and finds what it wants: Frodo's ankle. The grip tightens like a living manacle. Frodo screams. The pool explodes into chaos. Water becomes froth, becomes fury. 20 arms shoot forth, grasping, crushing, hungry. The stench intensifies until Sam retches, but still he lunges forward, knife flashing, screaming Frodo's name. "The door!" Gandalf's voice cuts through the pandemonium. "To the door!" Steel rings on tentacle flesh. Legolas's arrows find their mark, but the thing doesn't slow. It multiplies. More arms, always more, each strong enough to crush bone. Gimli's axe bites deep, spraying ichor that burns the stone. Aragorn and Boromir hack desperately at the writhing mass, but for every tentacle severed, 2 more take its place. Through it all, Frodo dangles helpless, the ring's chain cutting into his neck as the monster tries to drag him down into the black depths where no light has ever touched. Bill the pony, faithful Bill who carried their burdens through snow and shadow, breaks. The reek, the alien wrongness of the thing, sends him bolting into the night, their first loss. But there's no time to mourn. Sam's blade finds the main tentacle. The Watcher's grip loosens for a second. Boromir seizes Frodo, hauls him back from the edge. They stumble toward the gates as the creature's fury shakes the mountains. Behind them, The pool churns with inhuman rage. The thing rises, not fully, never fully, but enough to block out the stars. Tentacles lash the shore, seeking prey that escaped its grasp. Gandalf's staff strikes the timeless door. Stone grinds against stone with the weight of ages. The portal closes, slowly, so slowly, while the Watcher's limbs batter the threshold, desperate to feed. The door seals with a sound like the world's end. In the sudden darkness, 9 hearts hammer. The only sound, their ragged breathing and the distant fury of a presence denied its prey. They are safe. They are trapped. The horror that drove them in now guards the only way out. Ahead lies Moria's black heart. Behind them waits a thing that knows their scent, their fear, their weakness. The threshold is crossed. The price is paid. And somewhere in that crushing darkness, each member of the Fellowship realizes there is no going back. The Fellowship escapes into Moria's darkness, but their encounter with the Watcher is only the beginning. Later, much later, when Gandalf returns from the abyss, he will speak words that cast this moment in a new, terrible light. There are older and fouler things than orcs in the deep places of the world. Suddenly, the Watcher becomes far worse than a monster. It becomes a glimpse into the abyss. Picture the beginning of everything, before the sun, before the world took shape, when creation was still raw music in the void. Morgoth was there, pouring his malice into the song, breeding things in darkness no one has ever seen again. Some he shaped for war, others he simply unleashed, and the world itself had to change to accommodate them. The Watcher could be one of these, a survivor from before memory. But what should terrify you? Deep in Moria, another primordial evil waits. The Balrog, once a spirit of light, now a demon of shadow and flame. 2 ancient terrors, side by side in the same mountain's heart. This is no coincidence. Moria isn't just a tomb, it's a wound, a place where the darkness of the First Age never healed, where the world's oldest nightmares gather and fester. Some scholars believe the nameless things, the Watcher among them, are worse than Morgoth's creations. They think these creatures are fragments of chaos, remnants from the music of creation. No hand, divine or damned, ever shaped. If they're right, the Watcher isn't evil the way Sauron is. It's far more alien, an echo of the void before anything existed. Even Sauron, for all his power, is comprehensible. He wants to rule, to dominate, to impose his will. You understand his evil because it mirrors our own capacity for corruption. But the Watcher doesn't want anything you could name. It simply is, a piece of primordial hunger that existence itself couldn't fully digest. When Gandalf speaks of things older than Sauron moving in the world's depths, he means creatures that remember the darkness before dawn. Things that make the Dark Lord seem almost small. By leaving the Watcher unnamed, Tolkien preserves the essential truth. Middle-earth, like our own world, will never be fully mapped, never completely safe, never entirely understood. There are always depths left to dread, and in those depths, older hungers are stirring still. After all that cosmic dread, here's relief. Tolkien chose this terror. He could have explained the Watcher, given it a name, a history, a neat classification, but he understood what modern fantasy often forgets. Mystery is more powerful than explanation. Terror, like hope, grows in shadow. Look at his pattern. Tom Bombadil's true nature remains undefined. The blue wizards vanish into the east with no return. The Ent's awakening stays a riddle in forgotten song. Again and again, Tolkien leaves doors unopened, questions unanswered. When fans demanded clarity, just tell us what the Watcher is, He smiled and refused, sometimes playfully, sometimes firmly, always with the same wisdom. A story loses power when every secret becomes a footnote. The Watcher isn't a puzzle to solve. It's a reminder, even in the deepest lore, some shadows deserve their darkness. There's strange comfort in this, in knowing the master of Middle-earth preserved its mysteries. The terror we feel isn't accidental. It's crafted, intentional, chosen, and that makes it somehow more bearable. But here's what makes Tolkien brilliant. Monsters in his world aren't just obstacles, they're engines. The Watcher's attack doesn't just threaten the Fellowship, it transforms their journey. Feel the weight of that gate slamming shut, stone on stone, but also the sound of destiny narrowing. The horror outside becomes the reason they must face the horror within. This is Tolkien's signature move. The Barrow-wight doesn't just menace the hobbits, it arms them with enchanted blades, one of which will wound the Witch King and change the war's fate. Terror becomes the source of salvation. At Bruinen's Ford, the Ringwraith's pursuit forces Frodo into water that will wash them away. At every turn, monsters push the story toward hope. The Watcher seals more than Moria's door. It seals the Fellowship's commitment. No retreat, no safe path home, only forward, into legend. And in that dark certainty, hope begins to grow. Because if they must face the darkness ahead, at least they face it together. The shadow of the Watcher gives way to greater shadows, and greater lights still to come. So why do we return to that black pool, long after the story moves on? Because the Watcher is more than Tolkien's monster. It's our own. That fear of the unnamed, the unknown, the depths we dare not plumb. Every threshold we cross in life carries the same risk, that old hungers wait just beneath the surface. But here's what Tolkien teaches. Some mysteries are meant to remain unsolved. Some depths are meant to stay uncharted. The world, like ourselves, is never fully mapped, never completely understood. And that's not a flaw, it's a feature. For Tolkien, haunted by war and loss, evil wasn't always meant to be fought and defeated. Sometimes it must be endured, outlasted, left behind for others to face. Not every monster is slain, some are just survived. We all have Watchers in our lives, unnamed fears that surface when we're most vulnerable, most committed to crossing some dangerous threshold. The question isn't whether they exist. The question is whether we'll let them stop us from moving forward. The Fellowship didn't defeat the Watcher. They survived it, learned from it, and kept walking deeper into their story. Maybe that's enough. Maybe that's everything. The ripples settle. The pool grows still. But somewhere in the depths of every story, including your own, the Watchers are waiting still. Not to destroy us, but to test us. Not to end our journey, but to make sure we're worthy of what lies ahead. Next time on Monsters as Mirror, from the unnamed terror of the depths to the greatest named terror of the skies, Ancalagon the Black, whose shadow once darkened the very heavens. This is Middle-earth Unveiled. We treasure the time you spent with us,